Hello everybody and welcome to another video. This video is going to be about origins. World origin versus local origin. So you might have no idea what that means. Let me explain. An origin point or an origin is really just the center of something. So if we look at our Blender screen here, and I have removed all the actual objects, there's no camera or anything like that. I just see these famous three axes, the X, Y, and Z. Well, where they meet in this tiny little point where all three axes meet, that is what is called the world origin or the center of the Blender world. Right there in that point. And that does not change. It is fixed. It's always going to be right there. It's the center of the three axes. And it is represented by point 0, 0, 0. And so if I put an object there right now, which I have, I'll put that cube there. The cube happens to be positioned at exactly the world origin, and if I go press N here, and I go to item, you see that this object here is located at X is 0, Y is 0, Z is 0, the world origin. Now look what happens when I take this object and I move it. The location is changed because it is now further away from the world origin. This is basically telling you exactly what position it is relative to that point. So it's, minus 7.1 whatever meters, 7.1 meters, and to the minus direction, because this is the minus x, that's the plus x. So, and so on, distance from that point. And you see that this cube also has a little dot in the middle. Now, this is the center point of the cube, the local origin, the middle point of the object. So we see that the middle point of the object is in the object, which is kind of makes sense, and it's this far away from the world origin. Great. Now, if I rotate this object with this cube, like I'll just rotate it like this, it's going to rotate around its own little dot by default. Put it back to where it was. And if I go on to the auto mirror function, which we installed last time, it's going to do what it did last time. If I press it like that and I go here, it cut off half of the object and replaced it with a virtual mirror. And now, like I did in the previous video, I can sculpt it and do whatever I want, and I have a symmetrical object, right? Okay, great. That's fantastic because what it was doing was it was mirroring it along the center point of that object, along this object's origin, because the origin point was exactly in the middle of the object. That kind of makes intuitive sense, right? It's like the middle of the object is going to mirror it along the middle of the object. So it'll be symmetrical relative to itself. What though if I wanted to have this object here mirrored not to itself, but in world space, like mirror it relative to the world. Have another copy right over here. Well, the mirror modifier is on and it's not doing that because it understands that the middle of it is there. What I would have to do to make this mirrored on that side relative to the world, first of all, let me apply the mirror modifier. So now it's just one normal object. So now it's just a full object, everything's cool. However, the origin is still in the middle. That means the center point is still in the middle. I have to get the center point to go there. So the computer understands that that's now the center, and I can double this on that side. That's the actual origin point. I want to put it from there to there. Well, it's very easy to do that. Let's look at our statistics again. The location is here in this weird position. If I go to Control A, it gives me a menu which says apply the transformations, meaning you moved it, but move that little point back to the world origin. If I press this, all transforms, that's what just happened. It went back to 0, 0, and the little yellow dot appeared in the middle. Now, if I rotate it, look what happens. It's rotating now relative to the middle of the world, not to the relative to the middle of itself. And if I apply the mirror modifier, it appears now on the other side. It's not mirroring itself, it's mirroring it across the world center. So those are two very different things. Mirroring it or putting the origin point right in the middle allows it to be mirrored like this, it's sort of relative to the world. Putting the origin point inside of the object in its geometric center allows it to be mirrored to itself. So to switch from one to the other, let me do it again to make sure you understand what I did. I'm going to eliminate this mirror modifier. The little yellow dot is now in the middle. That means I can mirror it across, and it means I can rotate it like relative to itself. Usually, you actually want the origin point to be here. If I turn this on, usually you want the location of the object to be 0, 0, 0. So you actually want the little dot to be in the middle for most cases. Once again, I'm going to show you to switch it back and forth. I'm going to show you it's clear. If I wanted the center point of the object to be in the middle of the object, I click it. I go to this object panel. I go to set origin, origin to geometry, meaning the center of the actual object. Click it, and that's where it is. And now I can do my auto mirroring. Click, I can move it, and now it's mirrored again. And I can do what I was doing before using the mirror modifier. Great. Everything's cool. I love it. I'm going to apply this mirror modifier, and now I want to put the origin point back to the middle, which is normally where I want it, so I can mirror it on both sides and do a lot of different things. How do I do that? Once again, Shift A. Oh, sorry, Control A. I get the apply menu, and I'm just going to usually just apply all the transformations. So I do like that. That origin point sits there, and now I can put my mirror modifier on, and it'll actually mirror it like that. A very good example of this is like eyeballs. If you want eyeballs in the head, you're actually not mirroring the eyeball to itself. You're doing a mirror, one eyeball there, one eyeball there. Now, let's say you've mirrored the object, the origin of the object is in the middle, 0, 0, 0. Like I said, you should usually have. The problem is when you want to move the object, watch what happens. I move it like over here, and now this object moves with it, but now it's not mirrored anymore. And I have to do this same thing again. I have to go back to Control A and select all transforms. But that's very cumbersome to be moving things around and continuously doing that and moving this there and then continuously doing that. It's very annoying. If your object is mirrored like this and the origin point is the middle, it is much easier to do what I'm about to do. Go to Edit Mode. Press A, select the entire model, and now move it around in Edit Mode. That way, you're moving the mirror version like it's supposed to move, and you don't have to keep resetting the transformations all the time. So, in summary, what I would say is usually the object's origin point should be in the middle here. When you want to move an object that's mirrored and the origin point is in the middle, go to Edit Mode, select the whole thing with A, and move it there. And that way, you don't have to keep resetting it. If I look now, the location is still 0, 0, 0. I didn't have to really do any resetting of it all. If you have to mirror the object onto itself for modeling and it's some other position, I select it there. I'm going to get rid of this mirror modifier. I select it there. I go to Object, Set Origin to Geometry. And now, if I use the auto mirror, it will mirror it to itself because the center point is now in the middle of the actual object. So you can go back and forth between those two things depending on what you need. Okay, in the next video, we're going to talk about pivot points, which is related to this. Thank you very much. All right, welcome back, everyone. This video is all